Away next here on WNYC. Coming up at 9, just about 10 minutes from now, it's the BBC News Hour. So let's check in. Good morning, London.
Good morning, WNYC. This is Owen Bennett-Jones, and on today's News Hour, the French President Emmanuel Macron has forced through his pension reforms. We'll talk about that. And also the meeting in Moscow between the Chinese and Russian presidents. So that's News Hour coming up at 9 on 93.9 FM WNYC.
And we have 49 degrees currently and a cloudy sky in the city for your St. Patrick's Day. All parade goers should stay dry. That chance for rain moving into the forecast after 5 later this afternoon. Looking for a high of 58 degrees today. Tonight, small chance of showers early, then becoming cloudy overnight and a low of 40 degrees. It's WNYC.
WNYC is supported by the New York Historical Society and its exhibition Crafting Freedom, the life and legacy of free black potter Thomas W. Kamaraw, exploring the free black community in post-revolutionary New York. More at nyhistory.org.
We can put a number on the current stress on the banking system.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Fidelity. A dedicated Fidelity advisor can help create a wealth plan for a full financial picture. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. We're getting a better look at just how much ready cash banks are needing to get through the present turbulence. The accounting shows banks collectively have borrowed a record amount from the Federal Reserve, $300 billion over the last week. And First Republic, the mid-sized bank most under scrutiny now after the failure a week ago of Silicon Valley Bank, just got a $30 billion lifeline, courtesy of a group of bigger banks. Marketplace's Nova Safo is following all of this.
Yeah, David, all of these billions of dollars we're talking about are going to ensure that these less than giant banks have enough cash on hand to pay out withdrawals from their customers to prevent another Silicon Valley Bank or Signature Bank. So 11 of the giants, brought together by regulators, agreed yesterday to deposit $30 billion into First Republic because it was teetering. It's seen as having a lot of the same client base as Silicon Valley Bank and so potentially vulnerable. That seems to have done the trick, at least for now. First Republic, however, did say that it's going to suspend dividends, and it disclosed that it has in fact been borrowing a lot over the last week to ensure it has cash to pay out withdrawals. It's borrowed through the Federal Reserve's overnight funds market, and it's borrowed $10 billion from the Federal Home Loan Bank, which is one of the lenders of last resort for private banks that need cash.
And this $300 billion paid out by the Fed to many banks, where did that go?
Well, according to the Federal Reserve, nearly half of that went to Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Both were taken over by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Now, the rest went to other banks that are short of the cash they at least project they need. The Fed didn't name those banks. And just to clarify, we're not talking about depositors' money being gone completely. The banks have the money. It's just that a lot of it is tied up, often in bonds that have lost value at the moment. And so banks run the risk of not having enough cash on hand if a lot of depositors start withdrawing funds at once. That's the vulnerability that's been exposed with Silicon Valley Bank's collapse.
Nova Safo, thank you. First Republic stock closed up 10% yesterday as the private sector rescue came together, but in pre-market trading right now, that stock is back down 22% as investors digest the fact that their bank will no longer pay them cash in the form of dividends. Now here's some up-to-the-minute, right-on-the-headlines academic research. Experts at some top universities and the National Bureau of Economic Research looked at a question many of us have been asking this week. What are the odds of more bank runs like the one that brought down Silicon Valley Bank? Marketplace's Lily Jamali has that.
The study finds that Silicon Valley Bank is far from the only one whose assets are exposed to serious risk from rising interest rates, which cause bond prices to fall. Stanford professor Amit Seru and others studied 5,000 banks. He says they found a stark difference between the paper value, or so-called book value, of bank assets like bonds and what they're actually worth.
If you have to sell these things today, the value in aggregate in the U.S. banking system would be $2 trillion lower than the book values tell you.
In other words, 9% less. If that sounds like a lot,
it is a lot. It is a lot.
Seru says the recent drop in asset values leaves banks and the U.S. banking system itself more exposed to bank runs by depositors whose accounts are uninsured. The vast majority of Silicon Valley Bank's accounts fit that description. I'm Lily Jamali for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance, providing direct car insurance rates side by side with other insurance carriers. Customers can see rates and find an option that works for their needs. Now that's Progressive. Learn more at progressive.com.
When a highway is designed to run through a city, it means moving people from homes and businesses in the path and years of dust, noise, and blight until the new highway opens for business. A highway can cut a neighborhood to bits. Often these neighborhoods have black majorities. Now the Biden administration wants to address that legacy with what's called the Reconnecting Communities program. And there's a part of New Orleans that is still looking for healing. Here's reporter Carly Berlin.
The Treme is one of the oldest black neighborhoods in the country. And for a long time, Claiborne Avenue was its Wall Street. But then in the 1960s, the bulldozers came in. And now there's a towering, crumbling expressway here. Amy Stelly's family bought their home back when there was no highway. She still lives there. You can hear the roar of the interstate from her front porch.
It was a great, vibrant, middle-class neighborhood. The highway changed that.
So Stelly's nonprofit, the Claiborne Avenue Alliance Design Studio, submitted an application to the Reconnecting Communities program. It asked for money for a study to reimagine Claiborne without the highway. Stelly says removing it is the only way to address the harm.
We're still stuck with the noise, and we're still stuck with the dirt, and we're still going to be stuck with the crime, and all of the things that we've been stuck with since its inception.
But Stelly's group didn't end up getting the money. Instead, the U.S. Department of Transportation awarded $500,000 to a state plan to keep and upgrade the highway and possibly remove on and off ramps that slice through the neighborhood.
The name of the program is Reconnecting Communities. It's not necessarily removing infrastructure from communities. The reality is that the port is dependent upon this. The healthcare system is dependent upon this.
That's Sean Wilson, who until recently headed Louisiana's transportation department. He just announced he's running for governor. But Amy Stelly says the state's plan to improve lighting and repair the road wouldn't remedy the economic and health problems caused by the interstate itself.
You can't talk about equity and leave that thing up.
What the community wants most is to have an impact on the discussion, something they didn't have when the highway was built. For Marketplace, I'm Carly Berlin in New Orleans.
Markets, money is flowing into bonds again with the 10-year interest rate falling to 3.47%. Dow and S&P futures are down 0.7% each. NASDAQ futures are down by less, about 0.3%. And financial markets of all kinds could see added volatility today. It's what the Wall Street crowd calls Triple Witching Day, where options and futures contracts expire and get renewed all at once. These happen once a quarter, so triple witching and St. Patrick's Day all in one. Do me a favor and be careful out there. Our digital producer is Jarrett Dang. Our engineers are Jessen Dueller and Nick Esposito. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio. Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.